In the shadowed corners of a war-torn land, where chaos ruled and survival was uncertain, a figure emerged whose name would soon be whispered in both fear and admiration. MekanikiShark. Known for his unmatched skills in strategy and mechanics, he was not a soldier by birth, but a craftsman of ingenuity. A mind capable of turning ordinary tools into extraordinary weapons. The conflict had engulfed the region, and the Ansar forces were struggling against better-equipped enemies. It was in these desperate times that MekanikiShark stepped forward, offering not just his hands, but his vision. He designed and repaired weapons, improvised vehicles, and created defensive systems that could withstand fierce assaults. His inventions were not merely tools, they were symbols of hope for the beleaguered fighters. Stories began to spread among the ranks, how a single contraption built by MekanikiShark could change the tide of battle. How his innovations allowed the Ansar to strike decisively where no one thought it possible. Yet he remained in the shadows, unseen in the public eye, letting his creations speak for themselves. By the end of this first chapter, MekanikiShark was no longer just a mechanic. He had become a legend in the making, a crucial force in the Ansar's fight for survival, and a figure whose name would echo through the chronicles of this relentless war. Relied on sheer force and numbers, he understood that innovation could outmatch raw strength. He began devising clever traps, fortified shelters, and mechanical reinforcements that allowed the Ansar to withstand enemy advances with minimal losses. Soldiers who had once felt hopeless now found renewed confidence. They spoke of his inventions as if they carried a spirit of invincibility. A modified vehicle, equipped with hidden defenses, could transport supplies through dangerous zones. Ingenious communication devices ensured messages were delivered even when lines were cut. Every mechanical solution MekanikiShark created became a lifeline for the Ansar. Beyond his creations, MekanikiShark's mind was a weapon. He analyzed enemy movements, predicted attacks, and offered strategies that seemed almost prophetic. Commanders began to rely on his counsel, realizing that his mechanical brilliance was matched by tactical insight. He was no longer merely a support figure. He was shaping the very strategies that would define the course of the war. The war had reached a critical turning point. The enemy forces, confident and relentless, launched a major offensive aimed at crushing the Ansar once and for all. It was a battle that would decide the fate of the region. Amidst this chaos, MekanikiShark stepped into the eye of the storm. Using his mechanical genius, he transformed ordinary terrain into a deadly trap for the invaders. Improvised barricades, camouflaged artillery, and secret pathways allowed the Ansar to strike unexpectedly, creating confusion in enemy ranks. His innovations turned the battlefield into a labyrinth where knowledge and ingenuity mattered more than sheer numbers. During the fiercest moments, a specially designed device by MekanikiShark disabled enemy machinery, halting their advance and giving the Ansar precious hours to regroup. Soldiers who had once doubted their chances now fought with renewed courage, inspired by the unseen hand guiding their actions. When the smoke cleared, it became evident that this battle had shifted the momentum. MekanikiShark's role, though largely invisible to outsiders, was undeniable. The Ansar survived, and the enemy was forced into retreat. This was the moment when MekanikiShark became more than a strategist or mechanic. He became a symbol of hope and resilience for all who fought under the Ansar banner. After the pivotal battle, MekanikiShark's reputation spread throughout the Ansar forces. But the war was far from over. The enemy, wounded but determined, adapted quickly, forcing MekanikiShark to evolve his strategies and devices. Each day became a race against time, innovation against destruction. He began developing advanced mechanical systems that could anticipate enemy actions. Surveillance devices disguised as everyday objects, automated traps, and reinforced vehicles became standard tools for the Ansar. These creations not only saved lives, but also boosted morale, turning ordinary fighters into a formidable force. MekanikiShark's influence extended beyond the battlefield. He trained young engineers and mechanics, creating a network of skilled innovators who could continue his work even if he were absent. The Ansar were no longer just fighters. They became a force defined by ingenuity and adaptability. His contributions blurred the line between war and invention. In the midst of chaos, MekanikiShark transformed adversity into opportunity, showing that intelligence and creativity could rival brute force. By the end of this phase, he was no longer just a behind-the-scenes genius. He was the engine driving the Ansar's resilience. As the war drew to a close, the impact of MekanikiShark became unmistakable. Battles were won not just by courage, but by ingenuity, and much of this ingenuity bore his signature. The Ansar had survived against overwhelming odds, thanks in large part to the unseen hand that guided their strategies and fortified their defenses. MekanikiShark did not seek fame or recognition. His focus remained on creating solutions, teaching the next generation, and ensuring that the tools of survival and innovation would outlast him. The soldiers he trained carried forward his vision, spreading his methods across regions still threatened by conflict. Historians would later note that the Ansar's resilience was not solely due to numbers or firepower, but to a culture of invention and adaptability instilled by one remarkable mechanic. MekanikiShark became a symbol, a reminder that brilliance, when applied with purpose, can shift the tides of war. Even long after the last battle was fought, stories of the mechanical hero circulated among veterans and civilians alike. His legacy endured, not only in the machines he built, but in the spirit of hope, ingenuity, and resilience that he inspired. In the chronicles of the Ansar, MekanikiShark would always be remembered as the genius who turned machines into instruments of survival
and courage.